Welcome to Interview Hub. Core Java Interview Questions and Answers Part 4. Question 61. Can we have any code between try and catch blocks? We shouldn't declare any code between try and catch block. The catch block should immediately start after the try block. Question 62. Can we have any code between try and finally blocks? We shouldn't declare any code between try and finally block. Finally block should immediately start after the catch block. If there is no catch block, it should immediately start after the try block. Question 63. Can we catch more than one exception in a single catch block? From Java 7, we can catch more than one exception with a single catch block. This type of handling reduces code duplication. Note, when we catch more than one exception in a single catch block, the catch parameter is implicitly final. We cannot assign any value to the catch parameter. Example: catch, array index out of bounds exception or arithmetic exception E. In the given example, E is final. We cannot assign any value or modify E in the catch statement. Question 64. What are checked exceptions? 1. All the subclass of the throwable class except error, runtime exception, and its subclass are checked exceptions. 2. Checked exception should be thrown with keyword throws or should be provided a try-catch block, else the program would not compile. We do get a compilation error. For examples: IO exception, SCL exception, file not found exception, invocation target exception, clone not supported exception, class not found exception, instantiation exception. Question 65. What are unchecked exceptions in Java? All subclass of runtime exception are called unchecked exceptions. These are unchecked exceptions because the compiler does not check if a method handles or throws exceptions. The program compiles even if we do not catch the exception or throw the exception. If an exception occurs in the program terminates. It is difficult to handle these exceptions because there may be many places causing exceptions. For example, arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception, class cast exception, index out of bound exception, null pointer exception, number format exception, string index out of bounds, unsupported operation exception. Question 66. Explain the differences between checked and unchecked exceptions in Java. Unchecked exception. All the subclass of runtime exception are called unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions need not be handled at compile time. These exceptions arise mostly due to coding mistakes in our program. Array index out of bounds exception, class cast exception, index out of bound exception. Checked exception. All subclass of the throwable class except runtime exception are called as checked exceptions. Checked exceptions need to be handled at compile time. SQL exception, file not found exception, class not found exception. Question 67. What is default exception handling in Java? When JVM detects exception causing code, it constructs a new exception handling object by including the following information: name of exception, description of the exception, location of exception. After the creation of an object by JVM, it checks whether there is an exception handling code or not. If there is an exception handling code, then the exception handles and continues the program. If there is no exception handling code, JVM gives the responsibility of exception handling to the default handler and terminates abruptly. The default exception handler displays the description of the exception, prints the stack trace and location of the exception, and terminates the program. Note, the main disadvantage of this default exception handling is program terminates abruptly. Question 68. Explain the throw keyword in Java. Generally, JVM throws the exception and we handle the exceptions by using a try-catch block. But there are situations where we have to throw user-defined exceptions or runtime exceptions. In such cases, we use the throw keyword to throw an exception explicitly. Syntax: throw throwable instance. The throwable instance must be of type throwable or any of its subclass. After the throw statement, execution stops and subsequent statements are not executed. Once an exception object is thrown, JVM checks if is there any catch block to handle the exception. If not, then the next catch statement till it finds the appropriate handler. If the appropriate handler is not found, then the default exception handler halts the program and prints the description and location of the exception. In general, we use the throw keyword for throwing user-defined or customized exceptions. Question 69. Can we write any code after the throw statement? After the throw statement, JVM stops execution and subsequent statements are not executed. If we try to write any statement after throw, we do get compile time error saying unreachable code. Question 70. Explain the importance of the throws keyword in Java. The throw statement is used at the end of the method signature to indicate that an exception of a given type may be thrown from the method. The main purpose of the throws keyword is to delegate the responsibility of exception handling to the caller methods, in the case of checked exception. In the case of unchecked exceptions, it is not required to use the throws keyword. We can use the throws keyword only for throwable types, otherwise compile time error says incompatible types. An error is unchecked, it is not required to handle by try-catch or by throws. Note: the method should throw only checked exceptions and subclass of checked exceptions. It is not recommended to specify exception superclasses in the throws class when the actual exceptions thrown in the method are instances of their subclass. Question 71. Explain the importance of finally over return statement. Finally block is more important than return statement when both are present in a program. For example, if there is any return statement present inside the try or catch block, and the finally block is also present, first finally statement will be executed, and then the return statement will be considered. Question 72. Explain a situation where the finally block will not be executed. Finally block will not be executed whenever the JVM shutdowns. If we use system.exit of 0 in try statement, finally block if present will not be executed. Question 73. Can we use a catch statement for checked exceptions? If there is no chance of raising an exception in our code, then we can't declare a catch block for handling checked exceptions. This raises compile time errors if we try to handle checked exceptions when there is no possibility of causing exceptions. Question 74. What are user-defined exceptions? To create customized error messages, we use user-defined exceptions. We can create user-defined exceptions as checked or unchecked exceptions. We can create user-defined exceptions that extend the exception class or subclass of checked exceptions so that user-defined exception becomes checked. User-defined exceptions can extend runtime exception to create user-defined unchecked exceptions. Note: it is recommended to keep our customized exception class unchecked, i.e. we need to extend runtime exception class but not exception class. Question 75. Can we rethrow the same exception from the catch handler? Yes, we can rethrow the same exception from our catch handler. If we want to rethrow a checked exception from a catch block, we need to declare that exception. Question 76. Can we nested try statements in Java? Yes, try statements can be nested. We can declare try statements inside the block of another try statement. Question 77. Explain the importance of throwable class and its methods. The throwable class is the root class for exceptions. All exceptions are derived from this throwable class. The two main subclasses of throwable are exception and error. The three methods defined in the throwable class are: 1. Void print stack trace. This prints the exception information in the following format: name of the exception, description followed by stack trace. 2. Get message. This method prints only the description of the exception. 3. ToString. It prints the name and description of the exception. Question 78. Explain when class not found exception will be raised. When JVM tries to load a class by its string name and couldn't able to find the class not found exception will be thrown. An example of this exception is when the class name is misspelled and when we try to load the class by string name, hence class cannot be found, which raises class not found exception. Question 79. Explain when no class definite found error will be raised. This error is thrown when JVM tries to load the class but no definition for that class is found. No class definite found error will occur. The class may exist at compile time but is unable to find at runtime. This might be due to misspelled class name at the command line, or class path that is not specified properly, or the class file with bytecode is no longer available. Question 80. What is a process? A process is a program in execution. Every process has its own memory space. The process is heavyweight and requires their own address space. One or more threads make a process. Thank you for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates.